Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News. Good evening to everybody that is watching. Thank you so much for joining in. Today it is the 5th of June, and it's 1:47 West Coast time. 1:47 West Coast time. It is nice to talk to you guys. Behind me, the border wall that divides between Imperial Beach, California, and Tijuana, Baja California. The topic of today is what Joe Biden has done. Completely disastrous administration, a complete disaster. What he has provoked, what he has done, in his country, first and foremost in the United States of America, but the collateral damage that he has done all the way to Central and South America, it is just irreparable. It's something that it cannot be fixed in just 1 or 2 days, and it's a catastrophe. It's just a crisis what he has provoked. Now, three years and a half after knowing that, ultimately that he had a crisis at the border, that Alejandro Mayorkas was calling it a challenge, that, Karen Jean-Pierre was calling it a challenge, that every Democratic politician was calling this a challenge, like if it was a trophy, a migrant was a trophy. Now that they have, they're coming in on elections, they want to pander to the opposition. And of course, what they're doing right now, that Biden is just signing this, this policy for migrants to not cross illicitly anymore the border. And ultimately, you're putting a number of people that they can cross into the United States of America. You're saying 2,500. And, those 2,500, they need to have credible evidence of asylum and refugee or credible fear. And after the 2,500, everybody is going to be, deported. Everybody is going to be returned back. You needed 3.5 years and almost 10 million, irregular entries of people, undocumented individuals that they have crossed into the United States of America for you to understand that you have a crisis, for God's sake. And now that you want to pander to the opposition, and not only pander, you want to make the Republicans look bad, like they're not doing anything, like they're not signing on policies that you are completely saying that they're human policies, but this has been completely the opposite. You have been the most inhuman president in history in terms to immigration. More migrants have died under the Biden administration, has created a collapse in a crisis in South America, and the jungle of the Darien Gap with Panama and Colombia have been in there 4 times. So you cannot tell me how it is over there. Central America, I have walked with caravans in the part of Guatemala, walked with caravans in the part of South America, Mexico. 11 caravans I have documented and walked, collected evidence, and also documented the migration in Central and South America, and also documented the migration through our northern borders. It's a complete disaster what this guy has done. And now that he knows that ultimately elections are coming up in November, and the elections are extremely credible, they're extremely important. Immigration is an extremely important topic for the current situation of what is happening in the United States of America. What he needs right now, it is to pander to the opposition or make them look horrible. It is a strategy. Yes, it is a strategy. Is it a strategy that is going to work for him? Yes. And for the Democratic Party? Yes. For the migrants, it's not. What he is going to provoke is for more people to come massively. And I told you guys this. It is going to happen. More people are going to come massively as the ending of the elections, or the elections are coming in the United States of America. And what he is going to provoke now, migrants are going to make a run for it to make it underneath the number of 2,500 people that get allowed. That is not only the thing. More people are going to suffer the consequences of migrating through the Darien Gap. More people are going to suffer the consequences of extortion and ultimately trafficking of people. It is going to be in a massive extent. Why? Because the organized crime, they're not stupid. The cartels, they're not stupid at all. They know that now this law has been implemented by the Biden administration. They're the ones that they have control of the northern borders of Mexico or the south borders of the United States. They're the ones that they have control of these open border gaps. So they know the numbers of how many people they're going to push into these open border gaps. So now that they know that specifically you have a specific numbers of people that you're going to allow in, what do you think there are the cost of crossing it is going to be? It is not going to be 2,000. and it's not going to be 3,000. The cost of crossing into the United States of America, it is going to go up twice or 3 times higher, because the organized crime knows that there's only a number of people that they're going to be allowed to go in. So ultimately, it is going to create a collapse of a border in the borders of Mexico. Why? Because a lot of people are going to get stuck. And now, you know, the organized crime is going to operate more massively and to cross people illicitly into open border gaps and operate to fight over who they can cross and who has an opportunity or who does not. It's a complete disaster. There's no other way to call this, people. It's a complete disaster. These are human lives. These are human beings, man. Migrant lives matter. Everybody's lives matter, but this is specifically about migrants. Their lives matter. And you cannot be playing with these people, because I have said this multiple times. These political parties are only using the migrants for their own political gain and votes. It is just other than that, it's not unexplainable. They are using people as a market. They are using people as a market. Not only it is a humanitarian business, NGOs, international organizations, politicians, and cartels are making billions of dollars out of this human misery, but ultimately it has an agenda. And the agenda right now is to use migrants for their political gain and votes. And when you don't need them, you dispose them. So we are just a market. We're just a product for these people. So many times, Jerry Nadler said, we need illegal immigrants. This word that the Democrats pander so much to be erased from the planet. And Jerry Nadler said, we need illegal immigrants so they can pick up the lettuce. Other than that, it will rot on the field. Nancy Pelosi said, we need illegal immigrants to pick up the crops in Florida. Mayor Adams of New York said, we have good swimmers now. They can work as lifeguards. Why? Because they cross swimming through the Rio Grande River. These people are so extremely racist. And they know that they are, and they know that they're using us for their political gain and votes and to destabilize the border. This is a sad thing to see. And the thing that aggravates me the most first is that we're still continuing to be used for a political agenda under the Democratic Party, and Latinos and Hispanics are not woken up how much these people are using us to stay on the plantation and to ultimately be used for a political agenda for the next generation to be Democratic Party and to overthrow the Republicans and to make them look like they're inhuman, because that is the strategy right now. And the next thing, doing that factor, every Latino or every Hispanic does not have the freedom of choice anymore to say, I don't agree with your Democrat. I don't agree with communism. I don't agree with socialism. I agree with this. I agree with capitalism. I agree with life. I agree with God. I'm against this. I'm against that. There's no political decision now. The Democrats, imperialistically, they're using the migrants for their own political gain and votes. And if you do not agree with them, you will be a conspiracy theorist. You will create hysteria. You're a fearmonger. You're a white supremacist, a white imperialist. You're xenophobic, transphobic, homophobic, chronophobic, fatphobic, racist, fascist, narcissist, bigot. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. If you don't agree with them, you're that. But if you agree with them, hey, you're part of the team now. We don't have no freedom of choice. We are imperialistically being used by this leftist, progressive, mercenary, white liberals or liberal activists. We are being used by these people. And we do not have the freedom of choice to say, no, not only that. No, we don't want to use that. And it's sad to say that this is a system that they're using the Latinos and the Hispanics for their own political displacement of the Republicans. Let me just put a hypothetical example. You have all these people that they're running away from communism in Venezuela and Cubans also. All of them, they hate communism and they could grotesquely detest socialism. They know what communism is and they know what socialism is. They have lived in it. They have lived the economy of communism. They have lived the life of the socialist system. So when they run out of the communist system and out of the country, and they come to the United States of America because it is the country that has done an experiment that is called freedom. It is the most capitalist country that exists in the world. When they arrive to the United States of America and you say, hey, I'm here. But if you tell now that migrant that is running away from communism, if you tell him, hey, if you vote for the Republicans, or if you're in favor of the Republicans, you have a massive opportunity. You have a massive opportunity to be returned back or to be deported. That's the only opposition thing. That's the only opposed thing that it can happen to you. But if you vote for the Democrats, you can stay. And all of us, we know what the Democratic agenda is. The Democratic agenda, it is pure Marxism. It is leftist and a progressive, liberal, Marxist agenda. We already know this. So you're actually knowing the Democrats and the progressives, they know that our people are suffering the consequences of poverty, of insecurity, of lack of jobs, of economy, of social economical destruction and a disaster in Central and South America. So they know that they're vulnerable. So when they come in irregularly through a non-port of entry, they say, hey, welcome. I will pander you. I will gather you. I will work with you. I will hug you. I will give you a private hotel so you can live. I will give you an incentive of money. I will give you a cell phone. And when you ask them, hey, they're communists, man. Hey, I don't care, man. I'm not going to get returned back. So who do you think they're going to pander to? Who do you think they are going to ride with? What side do you think that they're going to be profiting and they're going to be supporting to? It is going to be the leftist progressive agenda. Systematically, they're using us. And that is the sad thing about it. That is the thing that, it angers me. What is more preoccupying, now, that is the thing that is aggravating for me. The most preoccupying thing is the organized crime in the cartel. How aggressive they are going to be now. How aggressive they are going to be now. How aggressive they're going to be move forward now. That's the other thing. And it is going to be something that is going to be uncontrollable. You cannot open an evil window, people. Joe Biden has opened a window. It has opened a window that is really difficult to close. You let millions of people to enter through a non-port of entry under the claims of refugee and asylum because you signed and you're a collaborator of the Global Compact on Migration, and because you're a collaborator of the Global Compact on Migration, the obligations, when you're aligned with the United Nations is demanding you to accept people through a non-port of entry, give them medication, housing, work, and everything that they need under comfort. Meanwhile, they stay. So your obligation is to provide that. A lot of people are saying why we are providing this because you are a collaborator of the United Nations. So the one that is presumably running your borders, it is the UN. So when you have the United Nations running your borders and these open border policies, the thing that you need to understand is you cannot open the window one day and say to the organized crime, hey, I will let everybody in. Don't even worry about it. The floor is yours. But the other thing is you cannot close the window and say, hey, we're done. That's it. I'm not going to let nobody in. What do you think they're going to do? This is a business. And you're basically hitting them directly in the pockets now. And this is an aggravated situation because, meanwhile, Joe Biden is sitting down on his White House and Alejandro Mayorkas is lying to the world that this is not a crisis. And he has lied completely now that it got out of its hands and then multiple migrants have died. Our people are dying in the jungles and the seas and the deserts. Now that this thing has gotten out of control, now you want to push the brakes on your 5.0 Mustang. And you want to push the brakes hard and say, hey, it's done. I'm not going to allow you to come in anymore. So what do you think they are going to do? What do you think the organized crime of the Cartel is going to do? Now, another thing that I want to talk to you guys about, it is what the repercussions of giving the United Nations so much power. Giving the United Nations so much power. And another word that a liberal uses is disinformation, just for everybody to know. Facts hurt. A lot of the FACTS, facts hurt. They use this word, disinformation. You're not academia. You don't know. When you travel and when you have gone through where I have gone, you can compete and talk to me about disinformation, first and foremost. But another thing that I want to tell you is that what are the complications that they're going to happen with Joe Biden and the United Nations, and ultimately, not only that, but the international lucrative organizations, the NGOs that they're profiting out of human misery. The NGOs that they're profiting and that they're continue to profit out of human misery. You know, just too long ago, the president of Panama said that the new president of Panama said that he wanted to close the Darien Gap. And immediately, he got attacked by NGOs. Immediately, the animals, politicians on the other side, the Colombian politicians, some Colombian politicians, they started saying, oh, you know, you cannot close the Darien. That's a route. How are you going to do that? It's unbelievable, these animals, how much they are sucking out of human misery. And they don't care about the lives of migrants. They care about this being a circle of business and everybody profiting of. And when you have the United Nations in charge of your borders, because that presumably it looks like it, and it feels like it, and it smells like it, and you have NGOs that they're completely not only processing, but they're in charge now of the Border Patrol, it looks like it. The Border Patrol cannot exercise the law to the full extent because now you are signing on this global compact on migration. But because you have that, now Biden has collapsed and has gone head on with these international organizations. Let's see how Joe Biden manages the situation with the United Nations. Because the United Nations completely says on their global compact on migration that you need to let in people that are under asylum and refugee through a non-port of entry. And if he still is a collaborator of the global compact on migration, believe me, people, this thing that Joe Biden has going on right now, it is not going to last. In other words, it is a charade. It is just a scene. It is just something that is just for a moment. Why it is just for a moment? Because elections are coming up. And he wants to pander to the opposition and make the Republicans look back as a strategy for make them look like, hey, we're putting a solution and they don't want to sign it. This is what we're doing and they don't want to sign it. They don't want to do anything about it. But I'm putting a solution on the table, but they don't want to sign it. This is the sad thing about it, that meanwhile, these policies are continuing to be implemented on the borders. Multiple migrants and hundreds of migrants are dying. And this is a complete sad thing about it. That this continues to be, a policy that is, remember those things, remember the debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. That debate where he said that he was going to document 11 million undocumented individuals, that he was going to create a better pathway for migrants. And he even said we need to search the border. They need to search the border. That ultimately has happened. There's no other way that you can categorize everything that has happened on the borders other than that. All of that has been a charade. And now you see that this is a charade again. This is acting. This is a scene. And he's just making this up as a strategy to attack the opposition, to make them look inhuman. Look, I'm trying to profit and I'm trying to make a solution for this situation. And the Republicans do not want to. So it's a strategy to make them look bad. And ultimately pushing the opposition to say, you're going to kneel down and you're going to do it because we're going to do it. Let's see how the United Nations reacts to this new policy that Joe Biden has implemented. Let's see how the international organizations are going to react, the NGOs. that they're profiting out of human misery, and they live out of federal grants. And let's see how this plays out in the future, because the one that runs the one, in my opinion, the one that runs the borders of the United States of America, it is the Global Compact on Migration. It is the United Nations. Of course, it is. They're collaborating with the Global Compact on Migration and the United Nations. They're the ones that they're not telling them, but basically you're running under UN law. And they're surpassing the American law. And it is a reality. You cannot lie about it. You know, even if you're from the left, you're from the right, you cannot lie about that. It is 100% correct. Why? Because before, if you saw a migrant crossing illicitly or illegally through the border, he will be detained and he will be taken over to a detention center under the claim of illegal entry. That does not exist. That does not exist anymore. Now everybody enters illicitly through an irregular pathway, and when they enter, they do not get deported or returned back. They go to a processing center, they get processed, and then after that, they get released into the United States, some of them, and some of them are returned. But look how it has changed because of the Global Compact and collaborating with the United Nations. It is a reality. And now he wants to change everything. Saying hello to the National Guard official. Now he wants to change everything. He wants to say, you know what, I want to go full on law and order. I want to control the borders. You know, I want to establish law and order in the borders of the United States of America. We're going to combat the organized crime. You know, I was listening to a report from the Border Patrol in San Diego sector. They had the place where they traffic more fentanyl and the place where they traffic more cocaine and more methamphetamine. It is the San Diego sector. They are 50% of the trafficking of this illicit synthetic drugs are from the San Diego sector. Right now, the San Diego sector has had a high, historical high on irregular crossings through the part of Jacumba and Jacume. Historical. You're talking about more than 200,000 people in the past months that have entered illicitly through that particular part. And you're telling me that you don't have the facilities to control this situation. People being trafficked, people being abused by the organized crime and the cartel. People are risking their lives to putting their lives in the hands of criminals to cross them into the United States of America. And ultimately, not only that, but now you put a policy to say, 2,500 only. What do you think you're provoking to the organized crime and the cartel? You're telling them only 2,500, they have a market. That's your market right now. And the price for every single migrant that is going to go up 3 times. Why? Because they know that there's only a number that has the eligibility to cross into the United States. Still, people are walking right now through the Darien. Hundreds are trying to make it. But all those hundreds that are coming through South America, they're going to end up in a bottleneck in Mexico, in the south border. And also, they're going to end up in a bottleneck in the north borders of Mexico or in the south borders of the United States. That bottleneck, what it's going to create is a complete collapse on the shelters. And more people are going to arrive, and you're going to have only one number, 2,500, out of, I don't even know how many, 100,000, 50,000. So slowly, this is going to decrease. And slowly, you will see people that they're going to collapse and make caravans and go to the border and protest and violating my human right. This is why I'm saying, let's see how the United Nations plays this out. Let's see how the United Nations is going to demand Joe Biden to say, hey, you told me that you were going to collaborate with us, the Global Compact on Migration. Don't you remember? You signed it off. What happened? You forgot about it? And meanwhile, the Joe Biden is part of this Global Compact on Migration. There's nothing that it can be interfering And if you're violating your own global compact, watch out, because now you have the ACLU under your butt. The ACLU right now, it is going to act. And I bet that they are on Biden right now, telling him, this is inhuman. What you're doing, this is not part of the agreement. You have an international treaty. Mexico's part of it. Respect those international treaties. I bet that they're already on it. So this is what it's going to cause a collapse, a political collapse. Not only that, your international relations and your buddies, they're not going to be your buddies anymore. Or it is a strategy. I'm going on the conspiracy side, right? Because, oh my God, Oscar Blue is such a conspiracy theorist. I'm going on the conspiracy side, right? I'm on a conspiracy limb. What can happen is a strategy to make the opposition look horrible, disgusting, inhuman. And then you can pander to the migrants that are already in the United States of America and make offers. That's what you can do. It's unbelievable. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much. Somebody saying, bring Obama in to help. For God's sake, no, hell no. The worst president ever in American history. For me, that's the worst president ever. He deported more Mexicans and more Latinos in history and more Hispanics in history of the United States of America. He created a war with Fast and the Furious in our country of Mexico. Mexicans died on that war. A lot of Mexicans died on that war. I don't know how many wars he provoked in the Middle East. Complete disaster. Thank you so much for joining in. Back right here, you will see the National Guard officials guarding the wall, the border wall. Why they're doing that? Because they know that possibly, the Biden administration, somebody saying sarcasm. I don't play with Obama, man. He's the worst. I'm sorry. I apologize for that, but I don't play with him. For me, he's the worst. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News. We are live from the border wall. This is a common conspiracy fact. You've been right since I started watching you 3 to 4 years ago. Thanks so much, Zoe. Thank you so much. Well, I have been predicting things that are going to happen. And it's because we see it, because we live it, and because we study it continuously. That's what we do. And because we know that this can actually be a fact, that's why we open our mouths. And I open my mouth with factual information. I don't just go out blah, 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 blah. It is the reality of what is happening. Thank you so much for joining in. Buy me a coffee. It is right there pinned in the chat. If you guys like to contribute to my independent reporting and travel fund, buy me a coffee. It is pinned there. We're going to be traveling soon on June also, again. Thank you so much for joining in. God bless you all. Stay safe. Prayers to everybody that is going through a struggle and is trying to make it. Second opportunities in life happen. Talk to Jesus. Sit down and talk to him like he's your friend. God bless you all. Stay safe. And like we always say, people, God's plan, it is our mission. Stay safe.